Champions League final time, and it's against Manchester City, who, remember, we had a great time against already this season, beating them 4-3 at home in the league phase. And of course, it's where our old friend Nelson Viper was sold to for £86 million. Our lineup, despite the loss of Nelson Viper and injuries to Krupi, is still a good one, with Jensen and Behrens being the two danger men for this Mallorca side, and Torres always causing trouble from the left-back position. Thomas Tuchel is the man in charge at Manchester City, and they look to be without some key players such as Erling Haaland and of course Nelson Viper, but it's still a strong team. But the lineups are in, and the final of the Champions League in 2031 is about to be underway. The first highlight of the game was a Mallorca corner, and not a good one either, but the ball was played back out to Behrens and brought down in the box. After checking with VAR, the referee eventually awarded us a penalty just 3 minutes into the match, and the young Italian striker Turin stepped up and smashed it in to gift us the lead. Just minutes later though, and Manchester City are smashing our crossbar with a long-range effort. But we kept Manchester City quiet for a while, held on to the ball to frustrate them and draw them out, and that's when Kawasaki found Behrens on the run, who smashed in a second for us, and now we lead 2-0 in the Champions League final. But an act of madness as our left-back Cesar Torres receives a second yellow card, followed by the red, and we are down to 10 men just before half-time. So I made a safe move, and I brought Torren off the pitch and pulled one of the strikers back into the left-back role and brought on Victor Arce instead. But it made the game very interesting, I guess, and even still we held on to our own, but a calamity of misfortunes led to Phil Foden having an open goal to pinch one back for the City. And it's game on. And it wasn't long, just 2 minutes later, in fact, that City started to control the game, and that's when Archie Gray found Ansu Fati's run, and his first time shot flew in off the crossbar, and our 2-goal advantage disappeared. But set pieces was always going to be our friend, and another Mallorca player was brought down, and the referee awarded us a second penalty in the match, and after it was checked by VAR, they confirmed that it was the correct decision, and the Andorran left-back, who has just come on as a substitute, Victor Arce, steps up and smashes the ball home to put us back in front with 20 minutes remaining. A wayward pass, and Manchester City are on the attack, trying to exploit the tired legs of our 10 men, and the run by Ansu Fati is found and he slots it home to equalise. However, the linesman is convinced it's offside, and once again VAR confirm, and we are saved by the flag, and it's still 3-2. City didn't dominate the whole match though, and we still created chances and even struck the post from Takata's shot in the 85th minute. But one last free kick, and City brought their goalkeeper up, but it was cleared, and we simply hold on to the ball and run the clock down, and as the second ticks away, closer and closer to us becoming European champions, until finally the referee blows the final whistle. And for the first time in Mallorca's history, we not only won a European trophy, but the Champions League, 8 seasons after taking over using the youth to gold method. Now, I did have a feeling the Champions League would be easier for us to win than La Liga, because as we mentioned right at the beginning, the plan is to win the 3 major trophies, and we still gotta do that. It's also great to see the reputation grow for the club into a 5-star worldwide club now. So let's get to work on some transfer business, starting with accepting this offer for Takata, who wants to leave anyway. And that money will go on top of our £108 million transfer budget already this summer, which could be even more because players such as Rafael Luiz also wants to leave the club, so we speak to the agent and then hire an intermediary to see if we can get a deal done. £52 million was offered, and although he's worth more, I'll settle for 60 to make sure the deal is done. And that's because I already have his replacement lined up and ready with a bid accepted. And what was once our midfield of Rafael Luiz and Takata both depart on the same day from the youth to gold journey. But there were many talents to potentially bring in to replace them if I was willing to spend big. Like, imagine bagging this Spanish defender from Inter Milan and turning him into a monster CDM. Outside of his 8 for natural fitness, unfortunately. Which then become even more tempting because I sold Morgala to Real Madrid. And now, outside of Junior Krupi, who has that serious injury, we basically have a full new gen team right now. But our first league game of the season is a European Super Cup against Spurs, who managed to win Europa League. And we have so many first team players out injured, which is very frustrating. So we have a starting lineup that includes a new player Johnson in the DM with Vukic and Masarika at the back, and Kadir in the shadow striker role with Okachukwu starting in the advanced forward position. But either Spurs are awful or our new players are just incredible. And Okachukwu was on fire. Maybe the previous long spells were bad because he was playing from the right hand side, because he is perfect as a striker and he scored a hat-trick. That settled it for me. He is my starting striker this season. I'm finally able to train to beat the offside trap without him then going on loan and it cancelling. Plus, actually training him in the strike role instead of the right winger role. First La Liga game of the season is away to Villarreal, and Yannick Behrens continues to surprise people with the first time effort. O'Dane Johnson tucked away an amazing penalty next, and I know what you're thinking. Noel Okachukwu goal? Yes, actually, he scored the third, scoring 2 more goals in a 5-0 win at home to Real Betis. And then he has concerns about playing time. What is going on? They literally just started the last 3 games. He also wins Player of the Month for August too, with his 6 goals in 3 games. I have also signed a Portuguese centre-back from Vitória, who is good with both feet and has a great spread of attributes, but we did spend nearly £40 million for him. But on the same day as Real Madrid were dropping points, we lose to Celta Vigo. That's annoying. The transfer window is now closed though, and we sit in 3rd place. And in the last year, we've sold £229 million and only brought in £146 million in transfers, which is very interesting. Thankfully, after that loss though, we recouped and beat Elche 3-0. We play Man City next, again. And within the 5th minute, Manchester City were out for revenge as Haaland sets up Archie Gray to give City the lead. But straight from kickoff, an attack down the right-hand side, and the ball falls to Lucien Toma, who sets the scores back to even. We flipped the score around, and it was the new CDM, O'Dane Johnson, who smashed in a worldie to give Mallorca the lead. But Rodri is still knocking around for City, and he pulls it back to 2-2. However, that's when it all goes downhill for Manchester City as we decided to stop messing around and tore them apart and show why we are European champions, scoring 6 goals in total without allowing them back in our net at all, sending the fans happy with a huge win. And we continued the good form, and although we couldn't keep a clean sheet, we won every single game comfortably with Real Madrid up next. It was a very tight game, and in the 87th minute, Real Madrid won a penalty. Jude Bellingham stepped up, but Medina made a huge save. But they still scored in the 94th minute anyway, and we lost. And we decided to take out our frustrations on the next 3 opponents. Somehow as well, in the 7-0 home win, our other CDM, Stambazi, scored 5 goals. 2 of them were penalties, but I still found that quite fascinating. In November, we continued winning games until we faced Valencia away from home. And despite taking the lead, they scored when Luis Suarez lobbed Medina with a header off of a free kick, which took us into a crazy fixture against Barcelona, where the scoreline continued to ping-pong between both teams. We took the lead just before half-time. They equalised just a minute later, and after half-time, they took the lead through Lamine Yamal, who scored 2 goals, but Frank Jensen equalised just minutes after they scored. A bit of a break between goals, but then Barcelona scored a third to put them 3-2 up through João Pedro, and within 4 minutes left, we had a corner whipped in and Turin managed to pick up the third. It's a 3-3 war. That little blip though, although there was no losses, did see us drop from 2nd to 5th place. And it's incredibly tight at the top with the amount of teams overachieving so far. Okachukwu, speaking of overachieving, has been lethal with 18 goals in all competitions. Fantastic news though, as Junior Krupi is back into the lineup and better than ever. He made a couple of substitute appearances, but he started against Atletico Madrid for the first time, and what a return, scoring 3 goals, winning man of the match in a 6-1 away win, and some of the goals he scored too. Absolutely outrageous. December in the Champions League, and we took on the other Manchester team, Manchester United, at Old Trafford as well, and made them look silly. We scored 5 goals with the halftime score being 4-0, and even after halftime they showed nothing, and we continued our onslaught, scoring our 5th, topped off with a Junior Krupi penalty. Just Real Sociedad to play in the final fixture of the year, but the other 2 league wins has us fired back into the 2nd spot, point behind Barcelona. We continue to defeat the country's 2 best teams by lifting the Super Cup in January too, but dropped 2 points in the league by drawing to Villarreal at home. Keeping the title race very interesting as Real Madrid now jump above us into 2nd spot. Okachukwu and Behrens kept us chugging along though in the next match with a 3-0 away win to Girona, with the supporting cast all getting involved in the goals too. and putting up a serious threat. That was also proven in the Champions League with a controlled win against Lazio, at home with a 2-0 win, and our league phase complete. Finishing in the top spot without losing any games and giving teams a hammering along the way. Other than a couple of loans on the outs, no January transfers were made. Our run in the Copa del Rey though was stopped when Real Madrid battered us 3-0 in the quarterfinals. In the following match, Okachukwu scored an audacious overhead kick in a 6-0 league win. And the cup exit was the only downside to once again a phenomenal month. Lots of comfortable wins, and most importantly, we jumped into the driving seat in La Liga, 3 points ahead of Barcelona and 8 ahead of Real Madrid. We then breezed past Stuttgart in the Champions League with 2-2-1 wins. But let's go back to the league, because we continue to pick up crucial wins against Levante, with 2 goals being scored by Okachukwu, who's really snatched that striker position from Torrin and outscoring Nelson Viper now. But when he was rested in the following match, we had Gonzalez to thank for 2 very early goals, picking up both goals before the 10th minute. And we thought the game would be over, but then our opponent scored an absolute cracker off the back of a corner. But still, going into the second half, you'd like to think we'd take control and maybe score a couple of more. No, Real Valladolid actually went on to score another, which really set the cat amongst the pigeons before finding our fantastic winner to give us a shock defeat. And we were rumbled in the next match too, drawing 0-0 as well to Celta Vigo. Okachukwu was back scoring a hat-trick in the following match as we picked up back-to-back 4-0 wins, but we were very lucky Barcelona also dropped points, and if they win their game in hand, that puts us a point behind us. Krupi scored 2 goals alongside Okachukwu's opener as we defeated Valencia 3-1 at the start of April, but it was time to face Inter Milan in the Champions League quarterfinals, where Junior Krupi scored another 2 goals, again in a 3-1 win. But what a set of following fixtures we have: Barcelona, Inter Milan, and then both Madrid sides. So, Barcelona at the Camp Nou, and Yannick Behrens slides us into the lead. Despite Barcelona getting Araujo sent off though, they equalised in the second half through Darvic. But a substitute Chilean striker Jimenez came off the bench to steal a winner for us in this top of the table clash. He hasn't featured much, but he's a hero right now. But then we somehow got eliminated from the Champions League after Inter Milan beat us 6-3 at the Giuseppe Meazza. Or from a Lautaro Martinez wonder goal after Junior Krupi took it to extra time by scoring in the 96th minute. And we followed that match losing to Atletico Madrid 3-2 at home. So we needed a big performance at the Bernabeu, and we started so well when Okachukwu scored in the 2nd minute. Real Madrid have some fantastic players though, and Arda Güler went on to an unbelievable run and somehow squeezed in an equaliser. But just before half-time, the last goal of the match came when a cutback was met by Yannick Behrens, and we were back winning games. And that win makes it very interesting at the top, as we now go ahead of Real Madrid on head-to-head only, with Barcelona just a point behind us, with only 4 games remaining in the league. Strap yourself in for a very tense end-of-season title race. While we were defeating Sevilla, Barcelona won El Clasico 1-0, but Real Madrid have bounced back since, beating their Madrid rivals, but it's our chance to put some distance between us. And on a beautiful evening in Mallorca, we kept our title hopes going with a comfortable 5-0 win against Granada, scoring 3 goals in the first 25 minutes. But wait till you see the goals in the second half, because Okachukwu scored a wonderful curling effort for the 4th, and then Yannick Behrens nestled in a free kick into the top corner from 25 yards. And that was just as Barcelona dropped 2 points in Levante. But that's exactly what we do, giving up a 2-goal lead by half-time and having Behrens rescue a draw for us against Real Sociedad. And just like that, the boat starts to rock as both Barcelona and Real Madrid win and are snapping at our heels with just 1 point behind us on the final day of the season. Not to mention our opponents on the final day is Tenerife, who need a win to avoid relegation. But on the day, we were absolutely relentless, and we really tortured the Tenerife defence with our high-pressing, fast-paced passing action, with every player on the pitch in a red shirt putting on the best game of their life. And they will forever remember this day as the day that Mallorca were crowned Spanish champions. We scored 7 goals from all positions on the pitch, unfortunately relegating our opponents Tenerife. But from our point of view, we are crowned La Liga champions for the very first time, topped off finally with a Junior Krupi penalty. Barcelona dropped off on the final day losing, but Real Madrid took us all the way to the very end, staying 1 point behind us as Mallorca finally lift the league title. All done through the Youth to Gold method. And what a journey it has been. I think we need to have a look and kind of thank some of the players that helped us get there along the way. Nelson Viper being one of them. Of course, now he's at Manchester City. He lost to us in the Champions League final. but he played an integral part in getting us to this point. And unfortunately, we sold him just before we won the Champions League. £110 million doesn't seem worth it for Manchester City, but it was definitely worth us selling him for that amount because he was crucial for us. He was unbelievable for us for many seasons. That season there, 34 and 36 in 36 games, was insane. Considering we weren't at the time in the top 2 of the league, that's amazing numbers. Then, of course, the other mention down here of the most league goals by a player, because Nelson Viper now holds that record of 168, by the way. Junior Krupi's 101. Now, considering for the most of the time he's playing centre attack in midfield, and he had that huge injury, what a time Junior Krupi has had in a Mallorca shirt, and still ongoing. Of course, that massive injury at the end of last season, I thought maybe we would look to have sold him in that summer. Being that the fact that he is the only real player in the game that we have left in Mallorca, outside of a couple of reserve players who every now and then feature. What a season he had in the comeback. 17 goals in 22 appearances, only 19 starts, with 4 assists and 5 player of the matches. When he came back from his injury, he was better than when he actually got injured. And he has been absolutely insane for us. So looking at this season, if we go by the star rating, we've got 3 5-star players right now in Masarika, Behrens and Frank Jensen. And to be honest, I can't argue with that. Masarika, for 22 years of age, is the best centre-back, I think, in the game right now. He is absolutely incredible. Left-sided as well. He plays on the left-hand side at left-back every now and then. Is a natural position. Yannick Behrens, I was worried when he kept breaking his ankle. Didn't need to be worried. He's the best player in the world. I genuinely think he is. I don't think there's a player that I've seen that is better than Yannick Behrens right now. I think he's the best player in the world. As a centre attacking midfielder, he's been so crucial for us. He doesn't get the huge numbers that you'd see from other potential shadow strikers, but look at the average ratings of 7.3, 7.4. Since he joined us, it's always been above a 7, which is absolutely incredible, really. £40 million, £40 million well spent. Usually in Youth to Gold, you spend a lot less than that. But when players like Yannick Behrens comes around, he's one of the reasons why we won the league and won the Champions League. Absolutely. Got no doubt about that whatsoever. And then Frank Jensen, I mean, you talk about bargains. Frank Jensen cost us 6.7 million. Absolutely unbelievable. Training to beat the offside trap definitely worked. He started chipping in with a lot of goals after that. Every single time we played him, he was absolutely incredible for us. And Okachukwu, the last season wonder really, because he's been out on loan, not really doing much, and then all of a sudden comes back into contention in the starting lineup for Mallorca and gets 25 goals and 32 appearances. Yeah, can't argue with that. 300k we bought him for from Nigeria. So, I mean, the loan deals look terrible. Attribute-wise, he looks incredible. Beating the offside trap definitely helped. Sticking him up front definitely helped. And he even played a part a few times in that shadow striker role, which definitely helped as well. Kawasaki, finally got my hands on Kawasaki, and he came up trumps. £3.8 million. He had some really good seasons for us in the end, and the last season was arguably his best one. He's really come into his own now. Once we sold Morgala and Morgala moved on, Kawasaki nailed down that right back spot pretty much every single game he was fit for. The Japanese Gary Neville with a bit of pace is what I'm going to say. That's basically what he is. So well done, Kawasaki. I'm really happy with that. And the same on the left-hand side. Cesar Torres, unbelievable player for us since he came in. Again, £1.6 million. Look how good he is for £1.6 million. There are a lot of flops. Everybody always goes, how did you find all of these amazing players? There's a lot of flops that maybe I don't showcase that just never develop. Point is me showing you them, but these are the ones highlighted that have done very well. Lucien Toma as well, as I mentioned maybe at the start, come into a really good last couple of seasons there in that centre midfield role, and exceptional stuff. Now, the rest of the players in here, there are some absolute beauts, of course, that we're going to miss out, and development-wise, we've still got like Sakamoto. He's been in it seems like he's been around for so long now. £2.1 million. We signed him for in 2025, 2026. He's never really played that many games, just a couple of appearances for the first team and got 1 clean sheet there. There's so many unbelievable talents that we've got. And if you want to take over this Youth to Gold side, you can. The save game file is going to go up on Patreon and on the channel members. However, I will also put in the tactic, but I'm going to retire this manager. Bang. we're going to retire. So, let me know what your thoughts are. Hope you really enjoyed this Youth to Gold series, as we always do. But my eyes now are fully set on the versus episodes we're going to be doing with Dad. Because we're going to tackle Glory Hunter versus each other. And that's a lot of fun. So make sure you're subscribed because you do not want to miss that. Normally I only do Glory Hunter by myself, but no. We're tackling it against each other. I'll put episode 1 of the Wrexham versus Notts County save up on the screen right now for you. Make sure you check that out because it's pretty much exactly the same as the versus rebuild. We go one-on-one, season by season. Check it out right now. Thank you.